In a small town called Umuru, deep in southeastern Nigeria, there was a dark and stormy night. The rain fell heavily and the thunder was loud, like a beast roaring in the sky. In the middle of this storm stood an old house, once grand but now covered in moss and vines. The windows were dark and the air around it was silent and airy. This was the home of Chief Nnamdi Obidike, the man known for his great wealth, power and harsh ways. But what happened here? Let's unravel the events that turned this mansion into a shadow of its former self. The story begins with the Biafran soldiers, brave young men who once stood proud and defiant in the face of war. Soldiers who gave everything only to be betrayed. Chief Obidike sat alone in his living room. In his hand, he held an old photograph. The picture showed a group of young soldiers wearing the uniform of Biafra army. They looked proud and full of hope. Chief Obidike's hands shook slightly as he touched the face in the picture. His mind lost a memory from long ago. Suddenly, the light flicked. A cold wind blew through the room, removing a heavy curtain and sending a chill down the chief's spine. He looked around, his eyes full of worry. The air felt colder and a soft whisper started filling the room. It was too quiet to understand, but it made the chief feel scared. He stood up quickly, trying to shake off the fear, but the whisper grew louder, more demanding. The sound seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, like voices from another world. The chief's heart beat fast as he called out, "Who is there? Show yourself." The room fell silent. The only sound was the rain hitting the windows and the distant thunder. The chief tried to tell himself it was just his imagination, but deep down he knew something was wrong. Something in the house had woken up because of the storm. As he turned to leave the room, a shadow moved in the corner of his eyes. He froze, his breath caught in his throat. Slowly he turned back, and there, in the corner of the room, stood a figure. It was a man, tall and thin, dressed in a torn Biafra soldier uniform. His eyes were empty, his face thin, his skin pale. The chief's blood turned cold as he recognized the man, Captain Ikena, the soldier who had fought for the freedom of the land in the Biafra War. But this man was dead. He had died in the war over 50 years ago. Chief Nnamdi Obidike, the ghost figure said, his voice sounding like it came from a grave. "Do you remember me?" The chief stumbled back, his leg shaking with fear. It it can't be, he stumbled. "You are dead, Ikena, you are dead." The ghost of Captain Ikena stepped forward, his eyes glowing with a cold blue light. "Yes, I am dead, but my spirit has not found peace. None of us have." As he spoke, more figures began to appear in the room, forming arcs of shadows. They were all soldiers, men who had fought and died in the Biafra War. Their faces were twisted with pains and anger. Their blood scared from battle. They surrounded the chief, their eyes full of blame, their voice whispering his name. "We trusted you, Nnamdi," Captain Kina said, his voice heavy with sorrow and anger. "We went to battle, believing you were fighting for our freedom, but you betrayed us. You sacrificed us to save yourself." The chief shook his head, tears rolling down his face. "No, I did what I had to do. I had no choice." "You had no choice?" another ghost said, stepping forward. It was Corporal Eze, a young soldier who had died in an ambush. "You choose to sell us out to save your own life. You made a deal with the enemy and we paid the price." The chief fell to his knees, his hand holding his head, and he was overwhelmed by guilt and fear. "I don't want to die," he sobbed. "I don't want to die." The ghosts closed in around him, their voice growing louder with anger and sadness. "And now you will suffer as we have suffered," they chanted. "You will feel the pain of betrayal and agony of death and the torment of the restless death." As the chief screamed in terror, the ghosts reached out their cold hands, grabbing his arms, his shoulders, his throat. The room spun around him as the spirit dragged him down into the darkness, their voices echoing in his ears. The sun rose from Umoro, lighting up the town with warm golden rays. The storm had passed, and the air was fresh and clean. But in the old colonial mansion, everything was still. The servant found Chief Obidike's body in the grand living room, his face frozen in terror. No one could explain how he died, but rumors spread through the town, rumors of ghosts, of spirits, speaking justice for past wrongs. They said that at night, if you listened carefully, you could still hear the voices of the dead echoing through the mansion, calling out for the man who had betrayed them. And some people claimed they saw shadows moving in the windows and the restless spirits of soldiers who could never find peace. The mansion was abandoned, left to rot and fall apart. No one dared to go near it, fearing the ghosts that haunted its walls. The story of Chief Nnamdi Obidike became a warning, a reminder that the wrong of the past can never truly be buried, and that the dead will always seek revenge. And so the ghost of Biafra remained a haunting presence in the heart of Umoro, waiting and always waiting for justice to be done. Sometimes the past refused to stay buried. In the quiet of the night, when the world still listened closely, you might hear the voices of those who were wronged, calling out from the shadows, demanding to be heard, for the dead do not forget and they do not forgive.